And make,
Record.
yes. So today, what we're going to cover is how to build way more value than the asking price, because that's the only way for a sale to take place. Then we're going to go over certain principles and a little bit of a mind shift of how we've been doing things, and just open the door to explore new ways and new opportunities. After that, we're going to talk about the value of storytelling, introducing storytelling into your process right now could be super beneficial. We're going to talk about some skill sets that need to be gained throughout our career in order to be better at building way more value than the asking price. I mean, think about it. You've sold things that were more valuable than the asking price. You've bought things that are more valuable than the asking price. There is no sale, there is no close, there is no uh, a wrong presentation you could do for products and services that are way more valuable than the asking price. So we're going to have a little bit of uh, drill. Hopefully, everybody enjoys it, and of course, we're going to have Q&A. So, does everybody see the screen, the light blue screen? I want to share with you some things that are going to add value to your process. I just want to see in the chat if you guys see the blue screen. I'm sharing the screen with you. Yep, Cassidy, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you. Um, So what we're going to start here is a deep qualifying question that I want you to start using from now on in order to set up the best presentation for no matter what product you are selling. These are questions that you're probably not asking right now. So I want you to test them out today. I want you to test them out this week. I want you to test these questions and to see if they're going to be able to help you build way more value than the asking price. That's the purpose of the call today. We're going to try to cover as much as possible in a short period of time. So please catch me back on the recording, ask questions, comments, concerns, to make this most productive for everyone involved. So, the first question that you want to ask before you present anything, before you present a vehicle or any type of service that comes with that vehicle, is to make sure you uncover what matters to the buyer. What do your buyers value? I'm telling you, it's not the price, it's not the color, it's not the equipment. Buyers have different values. More people in the waiting room are joining us, and we can get started. So, the first question I want to introduce to you is, what problem are you trying to solve long term? What problem are you trying to solve long term? A lot of times, buyers will tell you what they really want when they answer that question. And that is going to help you speed up your process, because buyers would buy what they really, really want. And most buyers don't know what they really, really want. So this question will definitely show you some data that right now you're not discovering. What problem are you trying to solve long term? The second question I want you to test is, how would solving this impact your day to day? How would solving this problem impact your day to day? I want you to include these two questions in your arsenal of questions and actually start your finding wants and needs, finding your needs assessment and wants assessment with those two questions. And then, obviously, I want you to ask the 6 questions that are part of the guest sheet. If you don't have the guest sheet, download it from the private coaching group in the files section. It will help you, especially if you're new to the business. It will help you to stick to your process, get all the data, follow the steps instead of getting confused and confusing your buyer by leading them in the wrong direction. So, what problem are you trying to solve long term? How would solving this impact your day to day? And number 3, it's what's frustrating you most about your current situation. Now, what are we doing with these questions, right? The first question reveals their ultimate want? What do they ultimate want? What does the uh, ultimate solution look like? A lot of the times, buyers are not educated that they could potentially have the ultimate solution. Many times, when you offer the ultimate solution together with the temporary solution, they would choose the ultimate solution and they would invest more money. People would rather spend more money for something they absolutely want and need than to spend any type of amount uh, for something that they don't want or need. The main reason why your buyers are leaving after you have encounter with them is because you failed in diagnosing exactly what they want and what they need. So the first question reveals their ultimate solution, which is very helpful to us. How would solving impact your day to day? Now we're building invisible value because the service and the product that we provide is impacting their emotional state. It's impacting their productivity. It's impacting their relationships. It's impacting their mental, spiritual, physical health. So we're adding more value to their life just by providing the service of selling a vehicle. So we need to know how does this new vehicle, whatever it is on our lot, is going to solve and impact your day to day. Now we're going to discover real pain points. We're going to discover real opportunity to make this decision more emotional and to use urgency to close the deal, because your two main responsibilities as salesperson is to, number one, diagnose what people really, 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 really want, and number two, create urgency so they can buy it right now. Those are the only two missions you have, and you are responsible for both, not your buyers. So as long as the buyer walks into your place of business and they have buying power, they have the ability to invest, they have the time to invest, and they have some sort of motivation. If they don't have a motivation, I don't assume they would be at your establishment, but you are also in charge of creating that motivation even greater. And those are the questions that are going to help you arrive at that place. The third question is, what's frustrating you the most about this situation? Now, this frustration is real. This pain is real. We can use the words they're saying exactly and close the deal more efficiently. So I hope you guys wrote down those three questions. They're critical because the deeper the pain or the desire is for something, the higher the value of your solution. Many times, a lot of people will do a kind gesture. They would either say something really positive while you're in a bad place in your life, or they would do a favor, or lend you money, or gift you something that may not be a big deal for those people that are the giver, but it was a breakthrough for you. The same way your buyers are looking for breakthrough on daily basis in your presence, and you could be that person. You could be the person who creates the breakthrough. You could be the person who takes the credit for the breakthrough. You could be the person rewarded with loyalty because you're doing your job and because you genuinely care about what do people actually want. That's what makes you a sales professional. I'm not suggesting that you have to give people the price they want. I'm not suggesting that you have to give things away. I'm suggesting that when people find out in your presence exactly what they want without fear of contradiction, they will step up to the plate and they will pay for it. When people find what they want it now. So it's a win-win situation if you spend the time to study what people want. Those three questions are going to be a game changer for you. So if you take my advice, test out these questions, dwell on these questions, and you will arrive at a place of certainty together with your buyer. The next message I want to share with you, that I hope it's the takeaway of today's class, is sell the future, not the feature. Sell the future, not the feature. See, 20, 30 years ago, when buyers didn't have any information, we used to sell information, and information was uh, based on what we know, not based on something buyers could easily check on the internet. So buyers used to go to average of 6 to 8 dealerships in order to make an educated decision. They call that shopping around. Buyers don't do shopping around like that anymore. They do the shopping around online when there's plenty of information. Buyers are actually using Chat GPT now to outsmart salespeople, to figure out where the best deals are, to figure out exactly what email to send, what message to send, so they could have the leverage as a buyer. And buyers don't need information. Does that make us not responsible for information? Not at all. You're still in charge of information. You still are a sales professional, and you must have all the information, or at least use the same tools your buyers are using to be educated as much as they are. But what they're looking for right now is a genuine connection, someone they could absolutely trust, which means the information now is a second priority. Being able to be connecting with buyers, having strong interpersonal skills, and building that trust fast is what makes you a modern sales pro. So 10, 20 years ago, we did presentations little different, and a lot of managers that come from that era as salespeople still believe in that approach of presenting the vehicle. So I want to challenge those managers as well, because 20 years ago we were conditioned to drive the price up. So the way you drive the price up is by pointing features in front of the buyer. And that is what 99% of salespeople do. They would park the car, they would open the door, something we used to call a butterfly. They would open the door, open the hood, and they would talk about irrelevant information to the buyer. The buyer doesn't care about everything on the car, doesn't care about everything that you know. And sometimes we share irrelevant information versus focusing on what they truly value and what would make them do it today. So a lot of the times we talk about surface stuff, but we don't talk about the real pain. So assuming everyone can afford your product, that presentation is still safe. If you're working with multimillionaires and they want to be impressed, that information is still and presentation is still relevant, right? Because they want you to sell them. But if you're working with middle class, lower class folks, they have financial crisis right now, and you need to create emergency situation in their heart so you could build urgency with their pocket and if you want them to take action. So that involves a personal connection that you cannot simply gain by pointing features. When we point the features, if we say this car comes with 20 trims, leather seats, heated seats, sunroof, panoramic sunroof, adaptive cruise control, what we do is we drive the price up. So now when people from middle class and lower class are listening to us, they're thinking, they're calculating, they're thinking, oh, these features are going to cost me so much money. And instead, if we point now, first, why did we do that 20, 30 years ago? Because as we build the price high, we can slash it. We can do a slash sale. You think this car is 50,000? What if I sell it to you for 35 right now? Well, that seems like an incredible deal. I will act on it right now. So we used to create urgency by driving the price up because we had full control over the perception buyers have. We had full control over how much discount we could give them. We were able to have much more room when buyers weren't able to check how much the invoice is. They weren't able to shop between all dealers nationwide in a matter of 3 seconds. We had more leverage with the information. We used it against the consumer, and that's why we drove the price up, because our strategy was to get somebody to fall in love with any car on the lot, and we'll do the negotiations. We'll make it affordable. We'll grind the buyer until they purchase the car. That strategy is no longer successful. It does help and it does work few times, but it doesn't work enough to be a business model, to be a successful strategy for a dealership to grow and to take care of its employees. So you need to give up on pointing features, because when you're pointing the features, first of all, anyone could do that. Anyone from a porter can come and start pointing at features, right? But we don't expect the porter to connect with the buyer. Nothing against porters. I love porters and they're incredible people. And some of them are better at connecting with buyers. But I'm talking anyone could the street. A customer can come and point out features after getting a little familiar with the car. So after that, we got into an era called race to the bottom, and it was difficult to build value, more value than the price, because in the last 10 years, probably 15, after we went from that stage of pointing features to drive the price up, our employers, our dealers used to advertise very aggressive pricing, very low pricing that we couldn't even get to if we wanted to. So now it made value building way more challenging, because when you give massive discount right off the bat, first of all, buyers are starting to think, what is the real price? If all these dealers are offering $5, $6, $7,000 off, how are they making money? Which is a logical question. They must have another 5, 6 grand off in profit. So the discount, the big discount, made buyers negotiate even more. That's what created TrueCar. That's what made TrueCar a massive broker and stole the commission of all dealers and all salespeople just by giving the buyer what they wanted, which was the lowest price. Think about how horrible this is for our industry. And COVID kind of ruined things, but we went through the experience age with social media, and with the experience age, people found more value in the way they were treated at the dealership. People found more value in the experience age in the efficiency. People found more value in the easiness of the transaction. People found more value in the unique experience that certain personal brands are offering. So during the experience age, we had a glimpse, we had a little bit of hope that now we can get more money for the same product that is offered anywhere else because of our personal involvement, because of the experience we bring to the table. And we're no longer in the experience age. COVID killed that. So now we're in the age of truth. We're in the age of connection. So the way you build value is what I call the invisible value, is by truly connecting with a buyer and building massive trust. And once when you build that connection, when you build that trust, then buyers would invest in your future, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to exist. And some of you think this is not real, but it is real. This is what these buyers are looking for. So the truth is, buyers don't pay for features. They pay for what life looks like after owning your product. I'm going to repeat that. Buyers don't pay for features. They pay for what their life would look like after they drive off the lot. So this is what you need to sell. You need to sell the version of who they're becoming, the version of how they arrive with your new car, because that costs more than $30,000. That sometimes removes shame, years of shame, years of inconvenience, years of pain. That sometimes changes people's self-esteem. It brings different level of confidence the way they appear with their new car. This is what creates value today. So you need to master, number one, your interpersonal skills, so you can connect with buyers, so they can trust you enough, so you can figure out exactly what they want, create urgency so they have it today. But it's not going to happen by highlighting features. It's going to happen by highlighting benefits for their personal life and advantages that they would have if they live with your vehicle right now. So the benefit, what is a benefit? That is the desired outcome. If you're thinking, how do I offer my client benefits? Then the question they're asking themselves is, what's in it for me? Now, if you are, for example, pointing at features and you say, this car comes with cruise control, even you can say, this car comes with adaptive cruise control. If you don't take the time to actually educate the buyer through a benefit or advantage of how the adaptive cruise control changes their life, they're going to underthink, and they're going to assume, which is dangerous, that the cruise control they have on their 2010 Explorer is the same cruise control as the one you're offering on 2024. So that is not true. Their cruise control cruise control that isn't adaptive is going to drive them straight to the wall. Your cruise control is actually going to stop the car and save their life. So this is a huge difference, right? And there's so many improvements between vehicles from 2010 to 2015, 2015 to 2020, 2020 to 2025. So many uh, advantages, so many upgrades in specific features that we can't just simply call them features. We have to sell the benefit first and the advantage second, and after that use the feature as a mic drop. And I'm giving you a quick example on the screen here. So the rule is you need to say the benefit and the advantage first, use the feature as a mic drop. Okay, so some ways to figure out what is important to your buyer is by asking the 6 questions. Now, if there is no urgency, there is no deal. Here are some questions that you can ask to create urgency, because if you don't ask those questions, you're not going to have successful presentation. Once when you deliver the certainty on the pain, those 3 questions I gave you earlier, ask this question: what is this costing you every month? What is this inconvenience, this pain costing you every month? You'll be surprised. Sometimes it's costing them more than the future car payment and the insurance combined. Sometimes it's costing them way more than the upgrade. Sometimes it's costing them something more important than money. So, what is this costing you every month? How many more months? Second question: how many more months do you want to keep putting money into something that's losing value or costing you precious time? This is second question on how to create urgency. How many more months? How many more days? How much more time do you want to spend and money into something that's losing value every single day? What happens if the car, and this is, you're not going to say this in a judgmental tone, you're going to say this in a concerning, deeply caring tone. What happens if the car you're driving now breaks down next month? What is your backup plan? You're going to find out many people don't have a backup plan. So if they come up with a backup plan in front of you, then the next question is going to be critical, and I hope you guys are writing this down. The next question is, if you find something today that fits, saves you money, and gives you peace of mind, which is most people, rich, poor people, their purpose in life is to find peace and joy. That's what people live for. So if you found something today that fits, saves you money, and gives you peace of mind, would waiting actually help you or hurt you? And just be patient. Wait for their advice. Everybody who tells you waiting would help, they would have to come up with a brilliant answer on how waiting will help. You're in pain. I have the medication. So how could waiting help? Okay. So, um, when you find out who your buyer is, this is impossible until you spend amazing time with the buyer in the first 10, 15 minutes. It's impossible to learn what they want unless you know who they are. And it's impossible to know who they are unless they like you first. So everything starts from the greeting. If you don't have a great first impression, if you don't offer incredible hospitality, if you don't set the stage, set the standard, set the example, set the tone, and set the expectations, if you don't sell yourself as the expert who deserves to lead, if you don't build common ground, you're not going to get to the position to learn everything about them. People will open up and tell you the truth if they like you. And if you're good at listening and you give them the respect of active listening, they will listen to you as well. So once when you know exactly who they are, what their current state is, then we move to the next step of learning exactly what they want with certainty, right? They have to verbally agree with us with no fear of contradiction that this is exactly what they want. And they also need to be aware of how much it costs. And what we need to be aware of, what is the main thing they value, so we could offer affordable solution. So they could leave with a product from our dealership because that's why they came in for. Anybody who walks into establishment with money, with time, and some sort of motivation to buy something and leaves without buying, it's always the establishment's fault. So it's always our fault. We should always point the thumb and never point the finger. I mean, we could point the finger, but that would make us victims. So stories sell, facts tell. Stories sell, facts tell. And what do I mean by stories? There's two different ways you can go about it. If you learn through your discovery that your buyer loves golfing and golfs every weekend, and buyer also drives 40 miles daily, and your buyer is also in sales and uses his or her phone all the time, and your buyer also likes to take vacations, road trips every 4 weeks. Now, collecting this data will help you create a situation that your buyer could easily connect with. This situation that you could create thanks to your amazing imagination is something your buyer will be very familiar with, right? Without too much assuming in a negative way, assuming in a positive way. And if you are familiar with people who share the same profession, you probably have some insights on how their life runs and what potential challenges they might be facing. And if you create a scenario where your buyers see themselves in the scenario, it will be easier to create that urgency and that connection and build that invisible value. Now, the second way of storytelling is to actually tell a story because it's the easiest way for people to be engaged with what you're saying. See, a lot of times this presentation that you would do with the butterfly, opening the doors, opening the windows, this presentation a lot of times could bore some buyers, and it may not be beneficial for you. But every time when you share a story that's relevant, and for example, if you need to create urgency in someone who is in lower class or middle class, you need an emergency situation. So if you have a buyer, an older lady that has a 200,000 mile car, for example, and he tells you, my car runs fine, I don't need a new car right now, and you want to create urgency, you could share a story about a buyer that fits exactly the same profile. You remind me of my mom. She used to drive, and it doesn't have to be your mom, it could be another buyer. And especially, you already have those stories. You already have so many stories that you could use in order to build value through storytelling, and use somebody else's example, because people put themselves in their shoes. When we hear stories, we can't help ourselves but to empathize and sympathize with the characters of the story and find ourselves in the characters of the story. That's why since we were very little, the people who share the stories would ask us, what is your takeaway? How can you implement that in your life? So we are designed to be influenced by stories. So if you share a story, for example, you remind me of my other client, Dorothy, who was actually saying the same exact things as you are. And I told her absolutely no pressure, go home, of course. And she on her way home, the wheels actually fell off the car. What she was talking about, her biggest fears actually came to fruition. So her left front wheel came off the car, physically was on the floor. And now she had to experience this severe trauma. I don't wish this to anyone with 50, 60 miles per hour for your wheel to suddenly fall on the ground and for you to drag on the highway and try to take control over the car and the steering wheel is pulling to the left. It is insane drama and it's a high risk of death. And she was afraid to drive a car for a long time. And not only that, we appraised her car while she was here for $3,000. She thought it wasn't enough, and she still has another 50, 100,000 miles in it. And she ended up paying more money to salvage the car and then to actually get the $3,000. And now she was forced to purchase a new car without having the comfort of time, without having the comfort of making educated selection. And also, she was drained from all the rental cars she had to rent, and they're so expensive, right? So you can share a real story, and now somebody listening to the story might say, I don't want to be Dorothy. I don't want this to happen to me. Now, I have no control if you're gonna tell real stories, or you could choose the first version of what I told you to just simply create a scenario, and that scenario doesn't have to be real, and the buyer doesn't need to know that it's real, and they don't need to, and it doesn't need to be real. Period. So it could be an assumptive scenario that you can present to the buyer as such, assuming you go out on a long trip to visit a client, 40 miles, right? Imagine that it's super cold in the winter and you just, while you're scrolling to your phone, you just set up your car and you start the car and the heated seat is on. Just imagine that hot seat, and you put your hands, everything is cold. Your handle on the door is cold, your shoes are cold, everything that is outside is cold, but the heated steering wheel in your truck gives you the confidence that something's working in this life. So now you have this story. You are uh, easily sharing the story because it's real story, or you build this scenario and you're sharing the scenario. It's easily for your buyer to find themselves in the main character and to give you an honest answer. Um, and reasonable people will give you logical answers when you create story, when you create scenarios like that. So, how do you build story? How do you build a story? A lot of you would say, how do I build a story? So, the first thing is you need to set up the scene. And every good story has a lot of details, right? The details is what sparks those things and in the imagination of the listener, and now the listener can relate and you see the same picture. So setting the scene means to set the context in the buyer's world, right? It has to be a situation that eventually will represent their world. The next thing is problem. So the first thing is scene. The second thing is problem. What is the problem? Show the pain, show the risk, make the risk visible, make the risk, uh, mention the worst case scenario, mention the best case scenario, mention the gamble, mention the risk, right? What is the problem? Show the pain, show the risk within the problem of the story. Number three, shift how life changes with your solution and how life changes without your solution. This is now a fork in your life. You now have the comfort and the choice to make good decisions in your life. Going for this decision did not work out for Dorothy. Going for that decision worked out for Frank. Now, don't mix my pressure and my enthusiasm to help my clients because I generally care about everyone I encounter. Don't mix my pressure and enthusiasm and dedication and commitment to help every one of my clients with pressure. Never mix that with pressure. So this was my line when people say you're pressuring me to buy. No, I am convinced that you have a choice to make right now, and you have much greater chance to save money and to improve your lifestyle if you go with this option versus that option. And if you agree that the other option is better, I'll support you, but I also want to express my expertise and my experience with other clients. So perfect time to use the system feel, felt, found. I understand how you feel about your vehicle. You've got a lot more life. And Dorothy felt the same exact way as you do, but she found out that her car was hanging on a piece of hair when she was driving down the highway and the tire actually fell. So, number one, scene. Number two, problem. Number three, shift. Shift means whatever decision you make today is going to cost you money. But the shift is right now. The choice you make right now will cost you money. Would it be a choice that solves your problems or a choice that continues your problems in a different way? And finally, the way to close the story is through a proof. Prove the feature um, and uh, and the outcome is your mic drop. So when you have those real stories, capture them on video testimonials, right? What does it say here? Let someone else praise you and not your own words. So capture these in video testimonials and make sure that you play these testimonials to people who are in similar situation. So um, I'll give you an example of how you can build also value through benefits and advantages. Here's a little scene. Let's say you're backing out of the school pickup line at 3 p.m. You're backing out. You're picking up your kid from school. You're backing out of the school pickup line at 3 p.m. That's the scene. So imagine you're picking up your child. There's a pickup line. There's a bunch of cars, and now you're backing up. Here's the problem. Traffic is so tight. Traffic is so brutal that kids dart around. They're everywhere, and your mirrors don't catch everything. There's blind spots in your mirrors. So you're trying to see everything, but there's kids darting around. So the traffic is so massive. Everybody picking up their kids. It's chaotic. So the scene, school. The problem, uncertainty with visibility. Here's the shift. With this, you glide out without guessing. You see around the whole car, and the alert catches what you can't. There's many things that you don't see, and there are many things that are under the bumper, under the doors. So the alert would catch those things that are not visible for the untrained eye. And the mic drop is the proof. It's a full 360 system with cross traffic alert, height, and braking. So it's a combination of cameras connected to your car. So if you fail to stop, the car will brake. And that way, you don't have to live with the guilt of running over a child, one of your uh, children's schoolmates. So presenting the story in this way builds way more value and that's not a story, it's a scenario, right? It builds way more value than just saying you got your 360 cam, you got this, you got that, you got that. I hope you guys are getting my point across. And if it is confusing, let's have a conversation about it. let's have let's have discussion about it. i would I would love to answer any of your questions. And just to finish this up,
What is happening? You know what? I'm over it. I'm not talking about it.
you are talking about it publicly in front of everyone in this class. So you might as well finish.
Oh,
What
no,
do
it's nothing to do with the class.
Okay.
with hard tones. Al, please.
All right. If you're not on the call, don't be on the call, please. So, um, I want to do a quick exercise while we're here in the next 10 minutes. So um, I want to, here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna drop in the chat a feature, heated seats. Heated seats. I want you to start blasting benefits of the heated seats. Warm butt. Pretty good. I like this one. Relieves back pain. That's good. Provide immediate warmth, therapeutic health benefits, and increased comfort, which can reduce stress and improve your overall driving experience. Like it, Joe. Resale value. Nice. I had a previous customer who would use it all the time for back pain. Warms you up faster and helps your back. So, Jan Drade, I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing his name properly. Uh, I had a previous customer who would use it all the time for back pain. So making this a real story would be so powerful. I personally have back issues and it helps out tremendously. Exactly. So now this is a personal example. I understand how you feel. Now, what if we don't present it as heated seats, but we use those benefits to simply ask the buyer if they would enjoy that? If we have somebody who's visibly in pain and say, how would you like to be relieved from that pain? Also, also have an investment, also be warm. How would you enjoy that, right? We want the buyer to agree to the benefit. We want the buyer to agree. I mean, this is universally good, right? Everybody loves the things you guys are mentioning. So we want the buyer to agree to the benefit. We want them to want the benefit before we even mention what it is. And now I want you to type some advantages that apply specifically to the brand you're selling. So if your brand has advantage when it comes down to heated seats compared to other brands, um, helps beating our cold winters and having a comfortable ride. Yeah. Not only helps beating our cold winter, it beats the cold winters, right? I like that, Suraj. I'm glad to see you today. So, what are some advantages? What are some advantages of your specific product? I remember when I used to sell Jeeps, the Jeep was the class exclusive, the only one in the market that will turn on your heated steering wheel and heated seat automatically with the remote start if it's under 40 degrees Fahrenheit. It will turn on your ventilated seats and the AC to a maximum if it's over 80. So you can adjust the heat to your preference, allowing for personalized warmth for the driver and passengers alike. Boom, that's an advantage. I like that, Joe. So have 3 levels of heat to accommodate your comfort level. Nice. Yes. That is an advantage. Some heated seats don't have 3 levels. So the point here is to build, sell the value, sell the advantage, and drop the feature as a mic drop. Obviously, when we have uh, workshops in the academy and when I come to your store and we work together, this is a 3-day workshop, and with role plays. And so we're trying to condense this information in 25 minutes, 35 minutes. I threw a lot at you today, but hopefully you you get it, right? I've got some questions and responses here. Um, for example, if one of your buyers say, "I just want the cheapest payment. I just want the cheapest payment." How could you, if you are between two options, one of them is a little bit more expensive, it solves the problem, but the buyer says, "I just want the cheapest payment." How can you create benefits, advantages, and features? So you can speak the same language. So they're affirming if they say, "I just want the cheapest payment." To prove that you're listening, you can say something like, "Lower monthly stress is the goal. I get it. That's the benefit that they're looking for." If they say, "What's in it for me?" that means they're saying, "I want the cheapest payment." So that means we're not gonna say the cheapest payment, we're gonna say lower monthly stress. Lower monthly stress is no longer money. It affects their mental health, their spiritual health, their physical well-being. Lower monthly stress is the goal. So just using different words, dictionary is the main reason. Using different words than every other salesperson is the main reason why they would trust you, they would connect with you quicker and faster. Same thing. So compared to stretching an old car with repair surprises that keeps costs predictable, that's your advantage. So if you move to a vehicle that is reliable, you don't have to stress over repairs, over unpredictable expenses, right? So that's an advantage. Um, this is how you can sell certification. And the way you start this conversation is, do you want something predictable or something risky? So that way, when buyers are buying a used car, they don't expect it to be brand new. Of course, there's a risk involved, especially if there's no warranty on the car or it's not certified. So the sooner you bring the truth, um, the sooner buyers will be in reality. A lot of salespeople are afraid to sell to their friends, their family, because they feel responsible for the car. The way I sold to my friends and family, I made it worse in the presentation than it was in the reality. So if they're buying a used car with a lot of miles, I would tell them with certainty, this car will break. This vehicle will have unpredictable repairs and maintenance you didn't know about. It will happen. It's got 100,000 miles on it. That is not a rocket science. I can be a prophet of that. I can predict that. Now the question is, when it breaks, do you want to pay out of pocket or do you want us to pay? And when they say, "I want you to pay," that means they're investing in warranty. So this was the easiest way for me to set up my finance manager, to set up the expectations with my friends and family. And guess what? If the car doesn't break and they still have the warranty, when I meet them, I ask him, "Hey, how is the car? Any problems?" "No, it's been a great car." Still, great experience. And if the car does break and they bought the warranty, I built trust. They said, "Thank God I bought the warranty. I've been having so many problems with this car. I'm glad you got the warranty too." I didn't know what to think of the car while it was 100,000 miles and it's already been pre-driven and used. So setting the expectations, using storytelling, using scenarios, using real expectations, real life expectations helps you build that connection and that trust. And now I want to open up for some questions, guys. Please ask some questions, give me some comments, concerns. We've got 25 people here. Thank you so much for joining and tuning in today. I hope this was helpful. Uh, let's have a conversation. The floor is yours. You can unmute yourself or ask question in the chat. Anyone? What are the most effective strategies for building immediate rapport with walk-in customer, especially when they seem hesitant or guarded? So these are the strategy. I call them the 5 pillars of connection. The first thing is to offer a great first impression, to have a welcoming smile, to actually have pure energy, maybe experience gratitude that the buyer is arriving and wants to do business with you. My energy was gratitude when I greeted buyers. I actually thanked them for coming in. So that first impression is critical because they would decide in the first 5, 6 seconds whether they want to do business with you or not. And they might still entertain working with you when they've already decided not buying from you. So that's when they have, vague objections and excuses to leave, is because they wanted to use you as much as they can, but they've never had the intention buying from you. So the first impression is critical. The hospitality, allowing people to have water, food, gifts, some type of gifts, makes them feel welcome and it offers great hospitality. Gifts are awesome. If you convince your buyer to eat something, then their subconscious now is telling them that they're safe with you. So creating that safety in the first 10 minutes is critical. So your first impression lasts about 6 seconds. Your hospitality could last up to 3 to 5 minutes. Bringing them to a place, you have to be prepared for the best hospitality, though. The best restaurants, the best hotels are prepared. They surprise buyers, and that's what the wow effect is, right? So you have to prepare. You can't wing your hospitality and go and ask them, "Do you want water? Do you want coffee?" That is not hospitality. You get the same hospitality at Jiffy Lube, okay? Anyone can give that bare minimum Keurig coffee machine, coffee is over there, water is over here. This is not hospitality, right? So you got to have a plan, a strategy, something that you would recognize as going out of their way and offer that genuine hospitality, genuine care. So hospitality is 2 different ways. Some people are great at hospitality when they make their own home, their own things open for the public, which is like the first part. This is how I am. My wife is not so good at that, but what my wife is great at is hosting those people. Once when we agree that those people are coming, she is incredible at hosting them. I'm not so good at hosting, right? But I'm good at inviting. So we make a good team as long as we're on the same uh page, right? Because I invite everyone, come sleep in my house. And it's like, this little inconvenient. We have a baby, we have this. Maybe you could have talked to me about it. So, anyways, that's personal stuff. But hospitality is the second thing. Then, Joe, you have also setting the expectations as an expert, as a leader, and you also have the responsibility to build common ground. So the more they know that you are just like them, the more they know that you empathize with them, the more they know that you understand where they're coming from, the easier for them will be to connect with you. And obviously, selling yourself is a big part of that. Hope this is helpful. That's why I mentioned that without these things in the beginning, we don't get to the point of trust. Anyone else? This is a good question. Thank you, Joe. You're an incredible young man. Anyone else? Man, we got Suraj, Ethan. Are you kidding me? Nice. Gabriel Dominguez. Anyone has a question? Jacob, Paris, Neo, Caden, Bart, Stevanica. I'm calling you out. Positive energy is infectious. Approach with a smile. Keep on your appearance. First impression is definitely where it starts. I appreciate you. Okay. Any takeaways from today's call? Declarations, maybe comments, questions, concerns. Go ahead, please. What was the question? Just was to car for customer. I was here. I really took in billing urgency. Something I could be better at. Yeah, probably best to watch the whole call. I'm not sure what question you're referring to, my dear friend. Well, the questions about building urgency, is that what you're asking? I gave you three questions on uh, how to. Uh, hold on, I'll show you. Jacob, if you want to write down the questions, they are here. So the urgency questions are, what is costing you? What is this costing you every month? How many more months do you want to keep putting money into something that's not gaining value and keep costing you time? And most importantly, what happens if the car you're driving now breaks down next month? Which they're going to tell you they don't have a backup plan most of the time. And the fourth question is, if you found something today that fits, saves you money, and gives you peace of mind, would waiting actually help you or hurt you? Hopefully you got that. Anyone else? What are some ways to overcome the objection when they brought a price from another dealer and to justify your price? Okay, this is a great question, and there's a very long answer to this question. I'm going to try to make it um, faster. So the first thing I would do, and we've done it with Jacob recently. We had a customer that had that exact objection. First thing I would do, just to remove all doubts, especially if it's like an outrageous difference, something that it's kind of hard to believe, right? I would make a phone call to that dealer in front of the buyer from my cell phone on a speaker call, and I would request to speak to the GSM or the GM of that dealership. And I would say, I would pass the gatekeeper by saying, I'm in the market for a car. I'm very close. I need to talk to the GM. It's about a car sale. They would always get you through. So now the GM answers the call. And the first thing you ask, you say, my name is Suraj. I'm helping a friend to purchase a car. And I just want to make sure we're on the same page. I've had some bad experience with dealerships, so I just got to make sure we are um, our expectations are met. So first question is this vehicle physically in your inventory right now? Is the car on the ground right now? Second question is, if I come with a certified check, can I buy the vehicle for this much out the door? Whatever the whatever that offer is. And if the GM agrees to all that, about 50% of the time the car is not there. About uh, your chances are going to go even higher when they have to answer the second question of whether or not they can do business. Let's say they pass with flying colors, you got two check marks. The third question would be, perfect. Please put that in a short email, just exactly what you said. Send me an email to surajpatel@gmail.com. So when I come to purchase the car, I can simply bring your email as a proof in case by the time I arrive, either the car is not there or you're not there. So I need to have this email in hand. And very rarely they would actually send the email and put all that in writing. So during that conversation, when they give you pushback, when they give you, which will happen 90% of the time, they will either fail the first step, the second step, or the third step along. Now you could create doubt in your buyer's mind who's sitting right next to you, or she's sitting right next to you, and you can say, all right, if the car was there, um, and you request pictures, for example, sent to you, if the car is there and if they honor the price, why wouldn't they send me an email, right? How did you get that quote? Okay, well, I just called. They didn't do that for me. So what is the difference, right? And a lot of times, the car is not there, or they can't honor the price, or they're going to create some type of conditions, or they're going to ask questions like, "Are you trading something in? Are you financing?" Which you can say, "How is this relevant to my question?" Right? And many times the buyers, while they're listening to your interaction, would definitely give up. In our case, when we did it with Jacob, um, they didn't have the car in stock. So now the car was supposedly $3,000 less than our car. And we asked the buyer, have you found another one that is similar? He couldn't. So now our vehicle became the best opportunity immediately. So that took like five minutes. When that objection arrives, don't try to fight it. Just be like, hey, I understand. I want to be the most competitive in the market. I believe our prices are fair. I believe our vehicles are standing tall and the best product you could find in the state. So I'm curious how they're able to do that. And then if the price is the same, obviously you have access to Carfax. You can look at history, auto check, and start looking for some ways. But it's very rare where dealers would pass all three steps. And when they do, it's still not done because now you can bring the printout to your manager and leave it up to them if what the manager would do. Um, and there's a reason why they are at your store. You're probably closer, you're probably more convenient for service. So adding that value, invisible value of you would be powerful as well. I don't know if this is help. It's a kind of a transactional way of handling it, but if they come up with that and they're transactional buyers, you meet them where they at and you take care of it. Hopefully this was helpful, Suraj. Anyone else? Those are good questions. Hello? Anyone else? Anyone else who wants some questions answered? If that's it, I love you guys. Thank you so much for your time today. You can always reach out. We're going to have the raw recording uploaded to the private coaching group, Rejection Free Circle, very soon. You'll be able to watch the whole call. And the call would also be uploaded to the Kajabi as a training module. So if you have questions, comments, concerns, we can bring the conversation to Facebook to Rejection Free Closing, and let's keep that conversation going. Let's focus on building way more value than the price. If you're still not convinced that you are worthy of $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 commission, let's have some one-on-one. Let's talk together, and we'll build a structure of how you could be convinced in your own value, and you can ask for more money with confidence, not because you are providing information, but you are providing solutions that change their life. Make it a great day. I love you. God bless you. Don't be an order taker, be a sales professional.